Welcome, everyone. That's my introduction to ASMR. Okay, well, welcome, guys, to another episode of the One of Us podcast. We're so excited for this episode as we're going to be talking about what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Okay, this is why I'm not a singer, guys. But we're going to be talking about love, the true meaning of love as we get closer to Valentine's Day, just what our culture says, what we believe, what the Bible says, just all the things. Because I think it needs to be discussed. Because I think we're all getting a little confuzzled when it comes to love. So there's a right answer to this, but define love. Ready? Everyone is gonna speak at the same time. Turn on your mic.
Count us down from 3.
Okay, I'll count us down from 3. Okay, define love. 3, 2, 1, go.
God.
Holy Spirit.
Tati, I'm concerned.
I was gonna recite love is patient, love is kind. But then everyone just said a word.
Technically, Christmas was like 2 months ago. We never talked about what's the true meaning of Christmas, but we're here talking about what's the true meaning of love. So I'm feeling a little scared.
We can stay in the Christmas spirit. It's okay.
No, I'm okay. Okay, so I'll ask this. So obviously, as Christians, we define love as God, right? How God exhibits love, kind of his standards for love. But before we kind of unpack that bag, why do you guys think that there's so much attention around Valentine's Day and maybe just that in our culture?
I mean, it's a holiday. You know, it's like any other holiday. People just celebrate it. If it didn't exist, I don't think people would make such a big deal out of it.
I think people try to find an opportunity to celebrate most things. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's like a holiday for everything. Grandparents' Day, Sister Day, Earth Day, all these days. I can't keep track. There are too many.
So would you guys say that like Valentine's Day inherently isn't wrong?
I think to celebrate love isn't wrong. Obviously, Valentine's Day has become commercialized where it's all about like chocolate and roses and all this stuff and expensive dinners and, you know, gifts and stuff, which none of it is inherently bad. But I think at its core is an opportunity to celebrate. But I do think there are some societal pushes and pulls that are correlated to it. How do you guys feel about the chocolate, roses, dinner, cards, vibes that we got going on in February?
I'm with it. I mean, I feel sorry for people who don't, but I'm with it.
Way to call me out, Juan.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I just had to say it because I think of this. You're just constantly reminded around this time, like, why aren't you dating someone? And I think it's just kind of an awkward thing because it's kind of just between you and the Lord, your relationship status. People are kind of throwing at your face like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think a lot of it is like what Crystal said. I think around this time, it's like that because people just want you to spend your money, everything surrounding it. But I do think that there's a lot of Christian circles who, I don't know, maybe they kind of fall into this trap of idolization of, I would say, passion. What I want to know is, do you guys think today people in the church kind of struggle still with love, feeling loved, experiencing love? I want to give some brothers and sisters some respect. I feel like sometimes people get some flack where it's like, of course I know what love is. Of course I know Jesus is love. But I want to know your guys' opinion on like, do you think that's still kind of an issue with Christians today? Like they're wanting to feel loved by another person. They're wanting to love another person.
I do think sometimes in the church, the idea of being in a relationship with someone can be glorified in some ways. They don't really preach about just being single and how great it is, but they're like, it's a great gift for now. And so I think some people, they hear that for now part, like, okay, that's where I am now, but when is this going to happen? And so it's like you're in your time of singleness, preparing to be in a relationship. Rather, just enjoy your time of being single, but you're not really single because you're with God. And enjoy that moment, and whatever follows. But that's in a whole nother book. You're in this one right now. Just take it page by page, chapter by chapter, and let the Lord do what he wants to do. But don't fixate on trying to get somewhere and to prepare to be somewhere that you're not there yet.
Well said, Vic. Well said, Vic. Not to throw some shade on my married crowd, because I'm married. I think marriage is beautiful, but I think also being single is beautiful because they're both beautiful in different ways. I mean, some people don't want to hear it out there, but some people were just called to be single. But I do believe if in your heart you desire to be with someone, that God knows that, and I don't think that's your destiny because you haven't found anybody yet. I just want to kind of talk about what are your guys' opinions on how we as Christians can kind of break that image down. Like, how do you feel like Christians ought to, I guess really represent what real love is in our day to day, especially during this season?
I'm glad you asked this because something I was thinking of is my thing with this whole, consumerist kind of idolized celebratory thing when it comes to love isn't the fact that it's being celebrated in itself. It's the fact that I feel like our society really pushes love as a performance, love as something that you have to like conjure up and like do to like show and express and all of that, when that's not what love is. It's not all of these outward things that you have to like prove that you love someone, because that's really not the basis of it. And I think of 1 Corinthians 13. What does it say about love? It's patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, right? It's not self-seeking. And those are things that are internal. All of those are. They're internal transformations of our heart and our soul, and ways that change our character. So I think love is more, because it's a person, the person of God, the person of Christ. It's also like a characteristic that we receive from the Lord, and out of the overflow of that love that we feel, we love others. But I don't think it's ever a performance. It's mostly like your character, and from the overflow of your character, I think obviously it'll manifest itself in some outward ways. But I think that's the distinction piece. So I would just encourage people to make sure it's coming from a true and authentic place.
So I was actually curious, and I just looked up, where did Valentine's Day even start? And it says that one of the earliest origins of Valentine's Day comes from a Roman festival called Lupercalia. I probably said that wrong. Basically, it was a fertility festival dedicated to the Roman gods. During this time, young men and women would draw names to pair up for the duration of the festival, which was kind of like matchmaking, which is kind of weird to me. And then there's, I guess, further down, Saint Valentine, a Christian martyr who lived during the Roman Empire. They say that there's a couple different stories, but the most common one is that he was a priest who defied the Roman Emperor Claudius' ban on marriage for young soldiers. He was in prison after later executed on February 14th, which I guess is where they get the day. And over time, Saint Valentine became associated with love and affection, leading to the modern celebration of love.
Isn't it so crazy how all of these celebrations have such a weird and twisted beginning? It's like, what the heck?
I know. I never, honestly, I was like, oh, like I've heard of Saint Valentine, but I actually don't know. I didn't even know the first, the Roman part.
I can't speak of his salvation, but let's say he did put his faith in the Lord and he's in heaven. I think it's really funny. It's like, wow, these people are really celebrating the day I died by like spending thousands of dollars on chocolates and flowers. Thank you.
Well, it was more because they were putting a ban on marriage for young soldiers.
I understand. I do know some people that are very like weird about like Valentine's Day, like they are other holidays, but like most things, if you have your heart in the right place, it's not necessarily pagan. But I do like what Crystal is saying. It's like, as Christians, it's such a beautiful opportunity that we get to take to show maybe the culture what love truly is. Something I think about a lot is how Jesus' love is so unconditional. Something I tell myself is, how much of that love is lacking in our world. And I always feel like around this time, as much as we give love, like, we think about like forgiveness and thankfulness, like around Christmas and November, I feel like during this time we should think about love at its truest form, unconditionally.
I was just going to say, what's amazing about love too is it's something like we're commanded to do. So I know in our culture and our society, sometimes I hear a lot of people saying, I hate everyone, I don't really like people, yada yada, cut them out, cancel culture, yada yada, whatever it is, or like you go from person to person. But it's like love is something that we're commanded to do, and we're commanded to love God first and foremost, and then love others well. So this really translates to like all of the relationships we have, is to just really love people well. And it's such an important thing, and it's so important to God. So that's why I think it's important as Christians, to your earlier question, Juan, that we get this right, that we understand the true meaning of what love is as displayed through Christ on the cross and what he did for us. But if we get that right and we know that we are loved and chosen by God, I think loving others gets a lot easier in terms of a biblical love too.
Okay, so what do you guys think about shows that try to emulate love? Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, Love
on the
Island.
Spectrum. How do you know all these, Juan?
Because they're just like everywhere. They're everywhere on Netflix, and I just want to know, what do you guys think? Like, do you guys think that those reality TV shows could work for you?
I think it sucks because they're not Christian. Like, they don't take Christian approaches.
So you think no Christian should ever like attend any of those like reality TV shows?
If you're trying to find someone equally yoked and in the same like area you are in your faith, probably not.
I was gonna say those shows would not work for me. One, a lot of those things unfortunately are staged or manipulated to, add a little spice, a little oomph to the show. But yeah, that would not work for me. Let's keep it organic. Let's keep it simple.
If there was like a Christian version of it and it wasn't spiced up, would you do it?
Farmer Wants a Wife? I'm just kidding, guys. I always think that's a Christian version, but it's not. I don't know. I mean, okay, this might seem a little controversial, but I do think there's nothing wrong with matchmaking. If you've had a lot of bad instances and you're like, I just need help in this, and you acquire professional help by like pastors and psychologists to kind of pair you up with someone with similar lifestyles and like maybe personalities. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe what I think is wrong is when you just put a ring on it like day one, because it's just like a gamble. I don't know, like most people don't like gamble in the casinos because you don't know what's going to happen, and the likelihood of it going bad is significantly higher than it going good. I just think that if you just like jump into it too hot, like too fast in some of these shows, you're doomed to fail, because it's like you didn't have that time to really get to know the person. Therefore, like, of course you're getting a divorce, or like, of course you hate the person you're with because now you found out who they were, and it's like, I can't live with this situation. So I just got to say, those shows, us Christians see right through it.
I think also an issue is most of those shows you're like dating multiple people at the same time. And I think the purity standards are also very low. So I think it's just hard all around. Please don't look at those shows and think there's any semblance of truth or reality, because there is not. What do you guys think on the reverse side? What do you think about Hallmark movies? How they portray like love?
I think they have the same problem as like you would say a Disney movie. Like, Disney's cool and all, but sometimes it's like fairy tale wonderland, and I pray everyone experiences a fairy tale wonderland in their relationship, because that's awesome. Like, I've had those moments, and I believe other friends have had those moments, but I think if you try to make that a standard, that's like problematic in itself.
Also, a lot of the Hallmark movies, it's like the big city girl comes to the small town because she has to like help her parents with their business or their time, or she finally made time in her busy schedule. And even though she's been in the big city, she's been engaged to a guy for a year, and then she comes and she meets a guy who owns like a hot cocoa stand, and she's like, oh, actually maybe you're more my type. And she's like, goodbye, the guy I've spent the past like 2-3 years investing in. I'm gonna go for this guy I've known a week. We're gonna get married. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Also,
I will say that
that
synopsis was pretty good, Vic. I would watch that movie.
The hot cocoa stand,
Okay, it'd be a Hallmark title for that. It'd be like heart steaming, or something like hop on. What would it be, Crystal? It'd be like Cocoa Hearts or something like.
That's cute.
It'd be something dumb like that. Like the other day, Crystal's dad, he loves Hallmark movies. So we went over, and the movie was literally Runaway Christmas Bride. So we told him, is this about a runaway Christmas bride? And he said, yeah.
It's just everything's in the title. The plot is in the title.
Steamy love. I don't know.
Ew.
Oh, maybe sorry, that I didn't mean it that way, but maybe
that'd be PG-13, Vic. PG-13.
Yeah, a little risky for Hallmark. But they make these movies, and honestly, they're unrealistic. They have like false expectations, and the movies are just feel-good movies. That's all they are.
I think what they don't show you either is that a lot of times these portrayals on media is about, what can you receive? Who do I want for myself? And that's not what love is at all. It's about what you're giving, right? Who do you want to be for others? And so I think that's where it has it twisted as well, and getting to the core of love being something that you're giving out of the overflow of yourself for other people, and not trying to make your person in a lab to meet all of your needs. It's shifting the question.
I know our time is running down here, but I kind of want to talk about this kind of last topic before we kind of run into our favorite segment with Tati waiting in the scenes. But I actually want to talk about our brothers and sisters who genuinely this time it can be very difficult for them, because I think sometimes we don't talk about that enough, and I feel like it's easy to kind of brush it off like, oh, it's whatever, and like move on. But I genuinely want to just speak to any brother or sister in Christ who is struggling in this season, that one, because of people celebrating their relationships with other people, never negates the fact that people love you, people care about you, and ultimately Jesus Christ loves you more than anything and anyone could ever. So I think that's just like something that just has to be said. But my prayer for anyone in that situation is that they would take this season to love on Christ. So I don't know if you guys have anything to say to our brothers and sisters who maybe struggle more around this season.
As they probably already know, brother, sister, whoever you are, like, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are so worthy of love, especially like the love of God, right? Something that we don't deserve, but it's freely given to us. And you are wanted, you are chosen, you are bought with a price. And have confidence in that and who you are and your identity. Whatever status that we're in barely defines anything about who we are. It's just an addition. And so I would just say, like, stay in community. Don't get isolated during this time. Like, there is zero way that you should feel. Well, sometimes people feel this way, but there's no basis of truth in which you should feel less than in any situation during this time. And so that's what I would say. I would just pour in, dig deep. Sometimes when we're feeling some type of way, we have to lean in a little bit more. And I'd say lean in during this time, like what Juan was saying, spiritually, and just know that God has a plan for your life, and it is good and it is perfect, and it's all in his timing. Oftentimes when we rush into do things our own way, that tree gets chopped down because God has something better for us. You know, we can plan our ways, but the Lord determines our steps. And so just really putting your trust and faith in that of, yes, God has a beautiful plan for you. God is going to bring someone or not bring someone, but he is enough ultimately. So that is, I guess, what I would say to someone during this time.
And a last little note, I would say be joyful and be happy for your friends that are in that season and celebrating those times, because when your time comes, you would want those friends to also have joy and celebrate with you, and when that moment happens for you as well. So I know it's hard. I would say continue to have joy because your time will come.
Okay, for all the cynics out there though, I will say in heaven nobody's married. So at the end, you'll have your wish.
You'll have your wish. We'll all be just with the Lord, and we won't care about any of that anymore.
Anyways, I hope this conversation is enlightening for anybody out here. Just remember, Valentine's Day, it's just a season probably derived by money, but we just need to remind the culture what love truly is. It's Jesus, it's God, it's a characteristic, and who are better to model it than us? As we close off and ride into the sunset of a heart-shaped sun, I pass it on to the one and only Tati.
Wow, the poetry.
Okay. God is love, but that doesn't mean that love is God.
You're gonna have to unpack that for me, Chief.
Why am I confused?
Not all love is God.
Okay, well,
God
this is okay. I'm gonna go big brain, so you guys need to follow my lead. Okay. What sucks about English? It's such a contextual language. So, like, you don't know what the word means unless it's tied to like 10 other words. It's like weird, right? So, I'll give you an example. When you say "I love you" to your mom, and "I love you" to your friend, and "I love you" to your wife, they all mean completely different. God is love, the agape form, right? The form that's unconditional. So I guess to entertain you, Tati, I will disagree. God is love, but love is not God.
Anyways, but what I would say is true love, true biblical love comes from an overflow of godliness that comes from God. Our culture deems things like lust, infatuation, just, desire, all these other things as love, but that's not true love. And like what Juan was saying, is the fact that we have one word to describe all these things is just dumb. That's where I would say your question's a little off. I agree and disagree in some ways.
Juan, you meant you do agree because I said God is love, but it doesn't mean that love is God.
Yes.
Because it says that making love the ultimate goal or can be an idol rather than making it a reflection of God's character.
I say. Also, what's playing in my head this entire time is, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. It's nonstop. I see what you mean. Is God is love, but you making love your God is not equivalent. That's like paganism. That's not okay. So, yeah. So then I would agree with you, Tati. You can't make love the idol and the God of your life that drives all the things that you do. It has to be the opposite way. It has to come from the Father, come down to me, and then come out of me to other people.
You can't pray away the red flags.
Tati, these are not hot takes. These are just your statements. Something's
Yeah,
acting
because that
up.
one's true.
That was
If
just
there's a
like
red
so
flag,
true.
you can't
Okay, well,
pray it
actually,
away.
time out. I'm gonna be the other side for a second. Everybody has red flags. That's a hot take in itself. So you should pray God would sanctify your brothers and sisters to turn those red flags to green flags.
But if you're getting into a relationship with someone, because this is how I viewed it, is like you can't get into a relationship with someone and they're like, oh, those are red flags, but I'll get into the relationship and I'll just pray that those red flags go away.
Okay, I agree with you, Vic. That's true.
You can't do that. It's different if it's like, hey, my brother and sister is struggling, and like they've come to me, they have said that they're struggling. Let's pray about these red flags. No, it's like, don't get into a relationship with someone and then be like, I'm gonna pray and fix this part of them. All right, I think everyone had some phenomenal points. I hope anyone who is in a relationship or not in a relationship and is listening to this on Valentine's Day or before or after, that this was able to just fill up your heart and restore your enthusiasm for love and give you a new perspective of what it is. But regardless, we love you guys. We do love you. A genuine brother and sister kind of love. We are praying for you guys. We hope you guys have an amazing week, an amazing Valentine's Day, whatever you decide to do, and stay safe. We love you guys and have an amazing and wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.